And we're live.
Kansho. Namandabits, 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 namandabits.
Good morning. Today is July 3rd, and we welcome you to New York Buddhist Church's monthly Shotsuki Hoyo service streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. We will begin with quiet sitting. Please sit up straight, feet flat on the floor, calm your mind, and follow your breath. We will begin with Sambujo on page 24, followed by Hyobyakumon and the reading of this month's Shotsuki names. Today's chant is Sambutsuge, Tan-Nembutsu and Ekoku Merit Transference, followed by Vandana T. Sarana, 3 jewels on page 167. Following that will be 3 treasures on page 9, read by Nobuko Kodama. Today's Gobunsho is Shonin Ichiryu no Sho, read by Gary Jaskula. Reverend Isabelle Shinjo Bernard will then share today's Dharma message. We will close service by singing Gathas Namu Amida Butsu on page 174 and Nembutsu on page 169. Namu Amida Butsu.
We respectfully call upon Tathagata Amida to enter this dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. We respectfully call upon Tathagata Shakyamuni to enter this dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. We respectfully call upon the Tathagatas of the 10 directions to enter this dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. In reverent contemplation, we realize that Amida Tathagata, in order to liberate all ordinary beings who possess deep and heavy negative karma, has fulfilled his primal vow, the merit of which is transferred towards sentient beings by his power. This is the teaching shared by Shinran Shonin, the founder of the Jodo Shinshu school of Buddhism, our denomination of Buddhism. How fortunate are we to hear it. May we all turn to the great wisdom and compassion of Amida Tathagata in the present life and walk the great path of gratitude and thus attain birth in the Pure Land and the peace of nirvana. Today, members and friends of the New York Buddhist Church gather to lovingly recall family members, friends, and teachers who passed during the month of July. Through their lives and example, they brought us to this wonderful teaching today. We know they are now one with the light and life of Amida Buddha and continue to guide us on our own journeys in life, wherever those journeys may take us. These are the names of those commemorated this month. Juhei Arai, Walter Hasegawa, Sono Hasegawa, Mineko Hashimoto, Roy Hashimoto, Fuji Horishige, Tome Horita, Masaharu Inaba, Yoshie Ishida, Mankentoku Ishii, Kimiko Kato, Ayako Kuchiba, Mei Kimiko Matsushita, Michael Min Matsushita, Isekishi Mine, Suma Mitsue, Koichi Mitsuchi, Ellen Moslin, Sakai Lotus Nishimura, Yasuo Okuyama, Joe Shigeo Otsuki, Michiko Otsuki, Toshi Sasaki, Kazuo Seki, Hoken Seki, Reverend Hosen Seki, founding minister of the New York Buddhist Church, George Yoshio Sugai, Hana Takeda, Kayoko Tashiro, Nancy Kimio Wakuya, Philip Yampolsky, Emi Yasuda, Nu Kemi Yasuda. With adoration, we read the sutras in praise of Amida Tathagata and express our gratitude for the Buddha's great compassion. Please join me in saying the Nembutsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Yakudai on Korujipo Kaimon Shojin Sanmai Chie Itakumuryo Shushokeu Jintai Zennen Shobuten Hokai Gujin no Kugogai Tai Mumyo Yokunu Seiston Yomu Nino Shishi Jin Tokumuryo Kukun Hodai Chie Jin Myo Komyo Iso Shindo Daisen Ganga Sabuten Zai Sho Kado Shoji Mifugedan Kusei Shoi Kainin Shojin Nyoze Sanmai Chiejo Gosei Takabuten Fugyo Shigan Isai Kuku Isadayan Keshi Ubuten Yakusen Nokuman Muryo Daisho Shunyo Goja Kuyo Isai Shito Shobuten Bunyo Gudo Kansho Fugyaku Inyo Goja Shobuten Sekai Bufu Kage Mushu Sendo Komyo Shisho Han Shisho Kokunyoze Shojin Nijin Nanyo Ryoga Sabatu Kakudadai Ichigosu Kimyo Dojo Chosen Kokunyo Naion Nimu Toso Gato Aimin Dodan Isai Jiborai Sho Shinnen Shoujo Ito Gakoku Keraku on Kobuten Shinmyo Sega Shinsho muge joryo shiso chiga yo keryo shinshi shoku dokuchu gagyo sojin
Everyone, please rise for the Vandana and Sarana. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami.
please be seated.
We are going to read three treasures, first in English on page 9, then in Japanese on page 10. Rare is to receive life in human form, yet now I have received it. Rare is it to hear the Dharma, Buddha Dharma, yet now I have heard it. Unless I cross this elusive world in the present life, in what life could I possibly cross it? Let us assemble together and take refuge in the three treasures with a deep sincerity. I take refuge in the Buddha. My sincere wish is that together with all beings, I may understand and experience the great path and rise to the human mind. I take refuge in the Dharma. My sincere wish is that together with all beings, I may deeply enter the storehouse of sutras and attain ocean-like wisdom. I take refuge in the Sangha. My sincere wish is that together with all beings, I may accordingly be united in the great assembly and become free from all delusions. The highest, most profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even though millions of kalpas. Now I am able to see and hear it, to receive it and keep it. It is my sincere wish that I may understand the true and real essence of a Tathagata. Okay, Japanese on page 7. Ninjin ukegata shi, ima sude ni uku. 仏法聞きがたし、今すでに聞く。好み根性に向かってどせずんば、さらにいずれの章に向かってか、好みをどせん。大小もろともに指針に三方に消えし立てまつるべし。自ら仏に消えし立てまつる。まさに願わくば主情とともに、大道を大下して無常意を起こさん。自ら法に消えし立てまつる。まさに願わくば主情とともに深く共存に入りて知恵のみのごとくならん。自ら僧に消えし立てまつる。まさに願わくば主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の方は百千万号にも相うことがたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を下し立てまつらん。
Today's Gobunsho, or letter of Renyo, is Shonin Ichiryu no Sho, which is found on page, I believe it's 147. No, it is on page 140 in the Purple Service book. I'll read it in English first and then in the traditional. Chapter on the teaching of Shinran Shonin. Shinran Shonin taught the essence of Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin. The reason is by abandoning all other practices and completely entrusting ourselves in Amida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by Amida through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of the Nembutsu should be understood only as expressions of gratitude for Amida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence, I remain. Shonin Ichiryu no go kanke no omomuki wa shinjin no motte honto serare soro sono yue wa moro moro no zogyo nagesutete Ishini mida ni kimyo sureba fukashigi no ganriki to oshite button no kata yori ojo wajijo seshime tamo Sono kurayo ichinen poki nyu shoujo shiju tomo shakushi sono ue no shomyo nembutta Nyorai waga ojo osada me tamaisi gon hojin no nembutto kokoro bekinari Anakashiko, Anakashiko. Namu. And now it is my pleasure to announce or introduce our very own Reverend Isabelle Shinjo Bernard, who will give us today's Dharma message. So please listen to her.
Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you all here today. Happy July 4th weekend. It's quite a kickoff for the holiday and the country, isn't it? This past week was quite tumultuous. And here we find ourselves today, possibly in the best place to safely unwind psychically, to relax our bodies and minds, and consider how we can live well in the present moment, despite our concerns, worries, sadness, possibly fears that may occupy our thoughts from time to time. The issues, decisions with the decisions handed down from the Supreme Court, the divisions or perhaps ruptures in our political system, the inability or unwillingness of our elected officials to heal those, the price of fuel and food, and so on and so on. It's a long list of woes, isn't it? Gosh, I feel somewhat like the old folks who used to sit outside my apartment building growing up and folding chairs, reciting their lists of health issues and complaints about it being no longer like the good old days, right? I can still laugh at myself, at least, without making light of any of these important concerns. So last week, many of you may have either marched in the Pride Parade or wished friends, family, or loved ones happy Pride. Others may have looked at their children or grandchildren and thought, what kind of a world are we leaving them with everything that's going on? It certainly seems like we're entering uncharted waters, and I'm not going to attempt to ease anyone's concerns or find justification for anything that has occurred. That's not my job as a Buddhist priest or as a human being. Rather, for my talk today, I'd like to consider some aspects of karma and possible antidotes to help us through this fraught-filled time. So first, let's remember that Shakyamuni teaches us that karma starts with our personal intention and radiates from the actions that follow, which is why we seek to be mindful of our actions, how they affect us and others, seen and unseen. We can start from this very moment. Every moment is a new start. But as an example, restricting our personal autonomy actually doesn't eliminate any of the causes or conditions that influence women's decisions on abortions. The decision to criminalize such difficult and gut-wrenching decisions will make the karmic repercussions far, far more severe, not only for the women, but their families. Although it's a highly nuanced issue, this decision takes our nation back into the past. The attempt to rigidly control personal body issues goes way beyond mere patriarchy. We are given, and we are living, only this one life, with all the karmic circumstances that pave the way and determine our inevitable end. In between, there is how we choose to live our lives, benefiting only ourselves and the promotion of a rigid ideology, or an acceptance of and allowing for, and perhaps even contributing to, the benefit of others. Kindness, empathy, open-heartedness, these two are choices we make, choices that influence how we treat others, but also govern how we understand and likewise treat ourselves. Indeed, we begin our practice through developing compassion for ourselves and by opening our own hearts. We start by acknowledging that words matter, attitudes matter, bias matters, respect matters, how we treat others and how we treat ourselves matters deeply. We can also start by understanding that the voices in our heads are not all ours. We should consider our history, both personal and cultural, when we are considering the impact of events upon our daily lives, as well as our daily mindset. As Shin Buddhists, our practice is found within our daily lives. So for me, I always find myself deeply sighing and uttering Nembutsu when I'm particularly stressed, and reminding myself that at least Buddha's compassion for my blind passions is ceaseless and boundless. Nembutsu. If you would ask a honeybee about the content of its life, it might tell you about flying to the flowers, getting nectars, making honey. Beyond that are the issues of hive and hierarchy and the queen. It accepts its role in the hives. Its job is important and essential. But its story leaves out how the pollen is generated by the flowers, the life of the plants, their journey from seed to flower. the karmic circumstances of the bee's life create its limited view as it works ceaselessly to fulfill its own goals. But to see the larger picture, one must go beyond the limited perspective of the bee and its goal of making honey. There is a story about a man who is being pursued by wild beasts. Howling, frothing at the mouth, they chase him far, far from his village. He's alone, terrified, running ceaselessly, farther and farther from safety, until his heart feels like it's bursting, until he gets to the edge of a cliff. There's no place left to go. But there is a vine growing there, and so he begins climbing down the high, sheer rock face, dangling at a dangerous height, held only by this fragile, fraying vine that threatens to break. When he notices a strawberry shining in the sun, fully ripe, how sweet the scent, how flavorful it must be. What do you think? Is this akin to our lives at present? We know we're living through difficult times. First there was COVID, now monkeypox, price of gas, the price of food. Pursued by howling beasts at every turn, doesn't it seem like we are also running ceaselessly? To me, it seems so. Shakyamuni Buddha attained the peace of enlightenment after journeying forth from his childhood life of ease and pleasure, then facing difficulties and failure for many, many years. His achievement did not come easily or quickly. But afterwards, he shared his hard-fought wisdom with those he encountered. In one such encounter, he came to a village where the inhabitants practiced fire worship. The sermon he gave is known as the fire sermon. The Blessed One, seeing that the Jatilas of Nadi and Gaya, who had practiced severe austerities and worshipped fire, were now come to him, preached a sermon on fire and said, "Everything, O Jatilas, is burning. The eye is burning, all the senses are burning, thoughts are burning. They are burning with the fire of lust. There is anger, and there is ignorance. There is hatred, and as long as the fire finds flammable things on which it can feed, so long will it burn, and there will be birth and death, decay, grief, lamentation, suffering, despair, and sorrow." Considering this, a disciple of the Dharma will see the Four Noble Truths and walk in the right eightfold path of holiness. He will become wary of his eye, wary of his senses, wary of his thoughts. He will divest himself of passion and become free. He will be delivered from selfishness and attain the blessed state of nirvana. Thus the Jatilas rejoiced and took refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Nembutsu. I like the word awareness, the idea that we become aware rather than wary. I think that's the intent here. And if we only lived in such a simple time, but we don't. Our lives are not simple. Our value system is quite different than in India 2,500 years ago. And we live in a society with our own complex ideology and culture, which many interpret differently according to their own perspective, needs, and desires. So in our society, we are burnt by the fires of capitalism that engenders rampant greed. We are burnt by the fires that lust for power, which engender political divisiveness and anger. We are burnt by the fires of ignorance that turn a blind eye to the suffering of others. And so, we may still find meaning in Shakyamuni's words and take refuge in by turning to the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Through being mindful of these qualities, we become more deeply aware of compassion and wisdom as qualities to develop within ourselves. The Eightfold Path consists of right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So we are here today as one Sangha. In this gathering, we are like a family that joins together without regard for age, gender, sexual orientation, race, religion. We're taught that Amida regards us all as if we were her children, with compassion born of the light of non-discriminating wisdom, and wisdom born from the boundless compassion that embraces all. So although we live in a sea of raging events and strong emotions, there is a place we can retreat to, that we can take refuge in, where we can hear a voice that reminds us that when we join our hands together in Gassho, when we join together as a Sangha, and we join our voices in Nembutsu, we listen to Amida's calling voice echoing from the Pure Land, a voice that penetrates even the darkest darkness of my own ignorance and emotionally volatile heart, mind, if I listen deeply and focus on the name that calls, Namu Amida Butsu. How we treat ourselves and how we treat others matters. Remember that the voices in our heads are not all ours, but we can listen closely until all else is silent, except for the true and real name that calls us to respond in kind. Please join me in Gassho. Namu Amida Butsu. 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 So be kind always to others, but starting with ourselves. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu.
So thank you, Reverend Isabelle, for a very, very probing, wise discussion of what's really important right now in our troubled times. Let's always try to center ourselves on the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Paths, which are summarized as, in our tradition, as Namu Amida Butsu. And now let us rise for the Gathas Namu Amida Butsu and Nembutsu. The first one is on page 174, and the second on page 169. When life is fair
Please be seated.
And now it is everyone's favorite time of the service, the acknowledgements and announcements. And first and foremost, once again to Reverend Isabelle for a beautiful Dharma talk. And today our piano was played by John Skelly. Thank you so much for leading that. And our greeter was Hiroki. And our crack IT team was Carl and David back there. So keeping us on the air, as it were. And our MAs are joined today by Nobuko Kodama, who is usually playing the piano, but is up here as an MA today, joining the chanting and participating in the service. And the most important thank you is to you for coming, to all of you, because together we make the Sangha. By ourselves, no need for a Sangha. Together we have Sangha. So whether you're just listening to the service or you're participating or chanting along, whatever, it's all participation. Just walking in that door is participating, or turning on your YouTube, and while you're there, click like, okay? So thank you so much. Do we have any announcements? The first one that I have is to remind you, and I'm terrible at getting the details of this, but if you look on the website, and I believe on the Facebook page too, there is the Obon candles. So Obon is coming up, and there's a idea that we'll have candles, and that you can subscribe to a candle for your loved one. And so go to that page, fill out the form, and be generous. That's once a year. Obon is coming up in not next week, but the week after next.
17th.
The 17th.
And our guest speaker will be Reverend Chiemi.
That's right. Our guest speaker that week will be Reverend Chiemi Bly from the Twin Cities. So that will be a nice event to tune into. This is a time I also like to remind people to become a member. So renew your membership if you haven't done so, but also if you're thinking about becoming a member of the New York Buddhist Church, we really need your membership. We really do, because it's one thing to show up every once in a while, but you can be an integral part of a faith community. You know, it is a very welcoming place. It is a very dynamic place, all things considered, though small. But you are needed here, and I really do encourage you. It's not that expensive at all, if you really think about it. Especially with the increase in prices, you probably spend more at the grocery than a year's membership in the New York Buddhist Church, which is sad, but there it is. So I encourage you. And is there anything else? Okay, so happy Independence Day, and thank you for coming, and let us close the service now with closing Gassho. Let us be mindful once again of those observing Shotsuki Hoyo this week, this month, in July, that they brought us to this place. They brought us into this door to be together today. Without them, that never would have happened. So let's remember them. Let's remember everyone else who passed away in the month of July, who are unknown to us. And also let us say Namu Amida Butsu in gratitude for ourselves being here. So please join me in Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. So thank you very much, and see you next time, and tell all your friends.